So for reasons I absolutely do not understand, every time I use a Stream Deck. Anyway, it was cutting out the camera whenever we would cut to the main scene, and then I would have to restart OBS, which of course ends the video. So apologies for the technical difficulties on my side getting this going this morning. Yeah, so we are pretty excited to have and there it went again. No, that's not what I want. I'm on a hot streak. There we go. And now I've got them all up. All right. So it's week 4, like, and and as it says, welcome SEC back to college football. Really excited for this week and some of the matchups we've got going. There's some really great games this week that, at least because a lot of them are in the SEC, they're going to be based off of the projection model with how we're looking at these games. But for the most part, I expect them to fall in line with where we're projecting these teams to be. There's always going to be some unexpected stuff out there. Like as one of the teams we'll cover that gave up 27 points in the second half last week and lost. Weird stuff happens on a college football field sometimes. So when we get through these 6 games, it's gonna be like you're gonna see some teams that we've been kind of waiting to see. We're starting to get also into the meat of the games. There's not much non-conference, of course, this year, but we're really going to get into like a lot of conference play going forward. And in some cases, exclusively conference play, when you're talking about the SEC or when the Big Ten eventually starts playing the Pac-12. Even the MAC has now come out late last evening and announced they're going to play a 6-game college football slate in the fall. All of this is exciting and good. I mean, I'm excited to see these conferences come back and play college football. I'm excited for Beta Rank, though. 6 games is like the minimum threshold just about for a lot of teams, 6 games versus FBS competition to really, turn off using some of the Bayesian weighting we use with the projection model. So it'll be a little iffy. And Beta Rank anyway throughout the season, because we're going to get so little. I mean, in the case of the SEC, the Big Ten, the Pac-12, the MAC, the Mountain West, we're not going to get any comparable non-conference games, to compare against and to be able to do an ordinal rank across all conferences with. So we're going to be stuck this year with Beta Rank, unusually, at least for Beta Rank, keeping in all of the, preseason variables, in the model so we can really do some comparisons. So, Beta Rank will be adjusted to not only have some preseason weight in it, it will also have, as we bring on more of these teams that, are only playing conference schedules, Beta Rank will also be adjusted to have, the recruiting and the returning production and the prior year performance in the model itself throughout, so that there's more comparable points that exist across all 100. I think at this point there are still some teams that just flat out canceled. So I think there's 127 teams that will be playing this fall as opposed to 130. So it'll be fun and interesting to see. I'm excited for this week's games. Let's go ahead and get into them because it's going to be it's a good slate. The game I am most excited for today is number 17 Kentucky at number 11 Auburn. These are of course last year's numbers because they haven't played a game yet. So when we get into this year's numbers are a little wacky at this point in the season, minus the overall numbers which have the weighting in them. So when we look at the offense for Auburn, they were at number 26 last season in Beta Rank. They're coached by Gus Malzahn. He's also, I believe, the play caller for the most part on offense. So, they come in. Their offense, frankly, wasn't all that great last season. We only projected at number 19. I think people were a lot more hyped on Bo Nix outside of the analytics and film community, than folks that actually, grade out the games and on the math or on the tape. So where they in particular stunk was their negative drives. Too many 3-and-outs, too many turnovers, not enough, smart plays from the Auburn offense. But really none of their other numbers are all that great either. I mean, sitting at 22, 27, 29, across, those 3 core 4 Beta Rank metrics, you're just they've got to get a lot better, I think, offensively for this Auburn team to be where they want. Obviously, with Malzahn, he's got to spread it out to run offense. 21 in effective rush, 64 in effective pass. They really are going to have to take a step forward, I think, running the ball, in Malzahn systems, but also throwing the ball. I think too, Kentucky's defense, by their standards, and Brad White's their play caller. They're coached by Mark Stoops. Number 36. They have some improvement to do too here. I mean, they bring back a good amount on this side of the ball. Where they really have to improve on their side is negative drives as well. They need to force more 3-and-outs, force more turnovers. They really struggled a little bit against the run last season. I expect that to pick up in this season and improve. They have some work to do on this side of the ball for sure. On the other side of the ball, things get interesting. Auburn graded out excellent last season. Kevin Steele's their defensive coordinator. They were number 4. This was a great defense last year. We do expect them to take a little bit of a step back, particularly in their, against the run of the pass, because Derek Brown's not there on the defensive line. Really one of the best players in college football the past couple of years. Where they struggled a little bit was in play efficiency, giving up yards per play. I'm really interested to see them against this Kentucky offense. Eddie Gran's the offensive coordinator for Kentucky. They bring back Terry Wilson, who was injured last year. Kentucky managed to achieve a fairly serviceable offense, despite having to play Wildcat a lot of last year with Lynn Bowden. I think that they're going to take this Kentucky offense, which returns 4 offensive linemen off a top 10 graded offensive line from Pro Football Focus. They have three returning running backs with at least 1,000 yards, in their careers. I really like this Kentucky offense. They will, if they can balance it out and become more effective in the pass, when you combine that with what they're able to do in the run. I think that this for me right here, this Kentucky offense against this Auburn defense might be the matchup of the day, because I think Kevin Steele is still going to do a good job. It'll be interesting to see where this Auburn defense really is. I mean, one game is not going to be the final grade for either of these teams, but this is my game to watch today. I'm really, really excited for this one. I had this closer than Vegas had it. I had it at just a touchdown with Kentucky on the road. With beta rank, Vegas had it at 10 points when it opened. It's since come down to 7, so a lot of the sharps also had the numbers about where I did. So really excited to see this game here. This should be a fun one. Kentucky's sort of my dark horse pick in the SEC East. They're going to probably need to win this game for that to hold true. So keep an eye on this one. We've gone a little long. The move on has already happened, of course, and I did not. Yes, I can take sips of coffee in between. So the next game we've got Florida at Ole Miss. This should be a pretty fun game here. Florida comes in projected at number 12. That's a little below where a lot of other folks have them. A lot of other folks have Florida clearly in the top 10. Some folks have them as their, a playoff pick and potentially in the, going in the SEC East. They actually had a pretty serviceable offense last season. And I think we finally established Dan Mullen is definitely the play caller. They've been a little coy about, designating who really is the play caller, whether it's Mullen or, their offensive line coach. Brian Johnson's just been promoted to offensive coordinator. I think that makes it pretty clear that, with this switching around on staff, that title is something they can move around, and Mullen keeps the play calling duties. They really stunk running the football last season. I don't think this is crippling. I mean, some folks think you have to be able to run the ball to win it, win in college football. I don't really buy that. Score points however you can. So, 91 in effective rush. They were excellent throwing the ball last season with Kyle Trask. I think that they can continue to improve throwing the ball. It wouldn't hurt them to mix it up and run the ball a little more effectively. But, what this offense looks like, what this offense looks like with Trask back, we have them projected right now offensively at number 8 overall, taking a little bit of a step forward, with what they've got. I'm somewhat optimistic. I'm not, like a lot of other folks, I'm not the world's biggest Kyle Trask fan, so we'll see. On defense, Ole Miss comes in. They're coached by DJ Durkin. That DJ Durkin, the guy that should probably not be allowed in coaching ever again, and frankly wasn't that good of a defensive coordinator in Michigan. He takes over a defense that was coached by Mike McIntyre last season. They improved a little bit under McIntyre. They still have a lot of work to do, and this might be where the game ends up being a little bit decided, is if Ole Miss can in any way slow down Florida. They really have to improve on forcing more 3-and-outs and have to improve their pass defense if they're going to hang in this game at all. And Mullen's a good enough offensive, good enough play caller and has the talent to really exploit them on throwing the ball. On the other side of the ball, the Gators had a pretty good defense last year under Todd Grantham. They did struggle a little bit, with their drive efficiency, giving up longer drives. What they really excelled at was actually negative drives and some of that play efficiency, forcing 3-and-outs. A little better against the run than they were against the pass. They get an offense that's a little up in the air, frankly, with Lane Kiffin taking over. They had Rich Rod last season. They, of course, end up becoming with Reese Plumlee, they end up becoming a heavy run team, of course, under Rich Rod, and Reese Plumlee himself isn't a great passer. They also have Matt Corral, who might be the bet, if you think that they're going to lean more into Kiffin's style of play calling that they often played at, FAU. However, Kiffin's really best offensive year at FAU came when he had Art Briles' son as his OC. He has gone back the Baylor route and hired Jeff Levy, who's also coached at Baylor, among other places. They may run the ball a little bit more, so we may get to see Reese Plumlee more than as I've been thinking about this. He may end up being the guy. I would still lean Corral because he gives them more of an opportunity for a diversified offense. However, if they do go with that route from, a little more of that Baylor spread them out to run offense, I think that you could see Reese Plumlee here as well. So they, Florida comes in with a 70% win probability here. That's about 5 points. Keep an eye on this game. If Ole Miss manages to play up to where their expectations are, at home, if they play well and end up, +1 on turnovers, they could absolutely make this game very close. So this in beta rank, this still isn't exactly like a headline game. So each of these teams has played at this point. So this is the actual, data. There's a lot of, below the unit rankings, there's a lot of volatility still in the data. So the unit rankings themselves are weighted. The other ones are normalized. The offense for FSU hasn't been great so far this season. They're at number 75 overall. They really struggled. This part for me is going to be the hard part to figure out, because Mike Norvell really is the play caller. He's out, held out of this game with COVID. That puts, Kenny Dillingham likely on the spot as the actual play caller for this game. This offense has really struggled so far. Number 75 overall. You can still see some of the offensive line struggles that plagued them last year. They're gonna have to get it going better than they certainly did against Georgia Tech. They, like I said, like some of these numbers, there's some, but this is the real in-season. They're gonna need to be able to run the ball a little more effectively. They're gonna need to be more explosive than they have been. These numbers really have to improve for Florida State, I think, to get where they want. Miami's defense has been okay so far. They really, I think Louisville exposed some struggles that they're going to have, defensively. Louisville's got a good offense, but, Miami, that game was less close than it looked on paper because of all those huge Miami plays. But, Louisville, covers those and probably wins that game. It's going to be interesting to see because, they were able to really grind up and down the field against that Miami defense. Miami's going to have to clean that up here. They're still projected as like a middle-of-the-road Power 5 defense, but I think for Miami to get where they want to go, they're going to need to be better than that. On the other side of the ball, Florida State's defense was decent in that Georgia Tech game, not great. We really project them still as like a middle-of-the-pack Power 5 defense here. Some of their numbers where they've really, struggled a bit is that, that drive efficiency. These numbers they're going to have to improve on. They were a little better at negative drives, forcing 3-and-outs against Tech. I think that they can build on that. For Miami offensively, they've been a real breath of fresh air under Rhett Lashley, a lot more heavy run team than they are a pass team, although they did hit some really big pass plays in that game against Louisville. Who is it? Adam Fuller is the defensive coordinator for Florida State. Blake Baker's the Miami defensive coordinator. I forgot to mention his name. But Lashley, I think, if he can keep them guessing and keep coming up with big plays, you really do like Miami in this game. Beta Rank has them as a slight favorite, 55% win probability here, about 2 points. This game should be fun to watch, but the Hurricanes really could run away with this one without Norvell on the sideline, and with Lashley getting the offense, I think, really rolling. So I expect Miami, as we get more data in, they're going to look a lot better and better, and they're going to, show up more on the, show up more in the offensive stats as grading out higher than this 58, where they really struggled last season. I think is still holding them back. What the heck is LSU going to look like? is the question, right? So we project them coming in at number 7 this season. They get number 30, where we project number 31, Mississippi State at Orgeron against Mike Leach, the debut of Mike Leach in the SEC. Of course, LSU's offense last season was everything you could ever want from an offense and a whole lot more. However, what do we end up with? In a team that can just throw the ball like that, however they want. What do we end up with this season? With Joe Burrow gone, with the offensive coordinator Steve Emsminger is still there. However, the Joe Brady's off to be the offensive coordinator of the Panthers in the NFL. Who really ends up, I think being the driver on this offense with Chase out and so many players out. What do they look like? I think that they're still going to be a very effective offense. What's interesting is that Mississippi State, after the amazing offense they had the year before, really kind of took a huge step back last year to being a bad Power 5 defense. That was really what undermined Moorhead was, well, one, he never really got the offense going as much as you would have expected, but two, the defense, which had been the catalyst for his good first year, really fell apart. So the defense is going to have to get it going. To put it mildly, in comes Zach Arnett, a protege of the Rocky Long 335. Is he going to be able to have that installed and ready to rock? That's going to be interesting to see. I mean, thus far, Syracuse is, they've been able to bring interesting, another team that's implementing that this season has been able to bring interesting pressure that, say, North Carolina struggled to handle. But they have not been able to really put together a complete game. Mississippi State, it's going to be interesting to see how they adjust to this, and if they're able to bring interesting, looks and pressure that LSU is going to struggle to deal with in this game. That's going to tell a lot of the story of how this game plays out. On the other side of the ball, wow, welcome back, Bo Pelini to FBS football. He's in the new DC at LSU. He's going to be up against Mike Leach and KJ Costello, new faces for Mississippi State. This Mississippi State offense wasn't great last season. They really were a lot more effective running the ball than they were throwing the ball. That's going to be interesting to keep an eye on to see whether that really holds out. This LSU defense also really loses a lot, including Dave Aranda. So we'll see where, Bo Pelini at one point years ago was one of the best play callers in all of college football on the defensive side of the ball. If that's still the case, will be interesting to see. In this game, I would also keep an eye on whether LSU can get pressure on Costello. At Stanford, he struggled, as do almost all quarterbacks when you put pressure on them. But if you force Costello in particular to, shift his throwing platform, have to move his feet, he can really make some bad throws. So if he has time in the pocket, or if he gets rid of the ball quickly in this Mike Leach offense, it could be he could do well. I mean, this offense can do well. It is going to get a real baptism of fire, though, against some real top talent. Something Mike Leach struggled with when he was often faced with like the top end talent in the Pac-12, like against a Washington, combined with a very good scheme. He really struggled to get it going, and some of it was the defense and special teams too in those Washington matchups. But he never quite got the offense, going against that Huskies defense the way he would have wanted. This will be his first opportunity, live and on CBS to debut against an SEC caliber defense, which, we expect LSU, we project them coming into this year on defense to be at number 7 overall on defense. So a little bit of a step back. We'll see. We will see. This should be a fun one. TCU, Iowa State. Iowa State hasn't played since losing to Louisiana. Again, this is the real in-season data because this is not. This is last year's data because TCU hasn't played yet. So this will be the first game for TCU. Man, Iowa State, we've got their offense right now projected at number 34. Tom Manning is their offensive coordinator. Matt Campbell's the head coach. TCU, of course, coached by Gary Patterson, who just put out a new single. Anyway, the TCU defense last season, I think there's the two stories here is the offense for Iowa State really needs to get it going. They needed to be able to take advantage of, having the good quarterback play that they really have. They really were not able to. I mean, the story of that Louisiana game beyond the special teams play for Louisiana and the really poor play from Iowa State, I think the other story of that game is the fact that, the first-time defensive play caller for Louisiana really had a great game plan and executed it and stymied that Iowa State offense in a really bad way for them. So they've got to get it going against TCU. That's often going to be a tough matchup because TCU has a pretty good secondary and Patterson does a good job on the defensive side of the ball. Last year, however, was not a vintage Gary Patterson defense. They really struggled. To get it going on that side of the ball. I'm interested to see whether they can really put it together. I think in the long run, on this side of or not in the long run, this season and improve, on this side of the ball. It's something to keep an eye on. I think they are going to have to improve significantly here, and we'll see whether they can accomplish that and get that done. So I expect them to be better than they were last year. We have them only projected at 19, though. So, for TCU to really succeed, they need the offense to pick it up, but the defense probably needs to get closer to the top 10 again. On the other side of the ball, this defense for Iowa State, we don't project them to be great. We do project them to improve at number 31. John Heacock is your defensive coordinator there. TCU, duties may be split again between Sonny Cumbie and Doug Meacham, who the actual play caller ends up being. We only project them to be at number 56. They flat out stunk last season at number 68 overall. They definitely have some work to do here. They have to, for TCU to get back to being really competitive, where they want to be, I think, in the Big 12 and nationally, the offense has to click again. This offense last season was just embarrassing. Not explosive enough, too many 3-and-outs, not enough, not enough yards per play to really keep it going. Decent drive efficiency number, but you're still looking at sort of the bottom end of the Power 5 there, and far better running the ball than they were throwing the ball. Their quarterback, who just got cleared, really needs to improve as well. I think a lot of TCU fans are high on his potential. This is the year you have to start seeing some of that potential be realized. Defensively, the Cyclones, they have to really improve off of where they were last year. They have been under Campbell, when some of their best teams have been, with a better defense than they showed. They have to improve against the pass in particular, and then their drive efficiency, not giving up so many long drives. That's a big thing for them. Finally, let's look at this game. This is an interesting game. This is our Group of 5 Spotlight Game of the Week. Our other one was canceled because of COVID, as a lot of games have been canceled or postponed. So. We've got Southern Miss, who's 0-2, but played better in their last outing against Louisiana Tech, against Tulane, who's 1-1 and really just blew it in the second half against Navy, scoring 0 points and giving up 27 straight points to lose 27-24. Offensively, Southern Miss really has some work to do. They're grading out at 108 overall. As you can see, the Bayesian weighting here does not match up to how Beta Rank is scoring out some of the rest of their numbers. Some of the rest of their numbers, of course, are normalized, not weighted to this point. So huge grain of salt with some of those numbers. But what they've been good at, I think, is avoiding 3-and-outs. They've played pretty well up to this point in a very, very small sample offensively, better than what we might have expected in particular. This matchup here where Tulane has a pretty salty defense for a Group of 5 teams, thus far. They're coached by Jack Curtis. Matt Kubik is the offensive coordinator for Southern Miss. I think this could be a big challenge to see really where Southern Miss has been. They've been improving a lot off of where we saw them in the first game. Last game they took a step forward. Of course, they had the huge controversy change, where the offense, their coach Scotty Hobson resigned Following some big time players on their defense opting out, as well as a running back. So now Scotty Walden is their head coach right now. Willie Fritz is the head coach of Tulane. I'm excited to see this side of the ball in particular, to see where Southern Miss shakes out after facing a defense that the model kind of likes a little bit as well. Also, it's going to be nice to get a lot more data into the system here. Usually when we're at this point, we have a lot, like, not only do we had more weeks of football, we also have a lot more games per week in football to start to leaven out some of this data. It's a little noisy still, and BetaRank doesn't do a lot of just pure counting statistics, which are, to their credit, a lot less noisy, than these statistics are in some ways right now. Maybe I'll end up doing one of the adjustments this year. Might be adding Bayesian weighting to all of the BetaRank statistics. We'll see. Defensively, Southern Miss was pretty good last season. We project them, to continue to improve and maybe get a little better. They were really good in particular against the run last year. That's going to be an interesting matchup if they can get that going, against Will Hall. He's the offensive coordinator for Tulane, whether he, an offense that leans a lot more into the run against what had been a pretty good run defense last year, under Jerry Picarro. Didn't have time to look up the pronunciation for that. Southern Miss is just a slight favorite in BetaRank here. The 63% win probability. Tulane's actually favored in Vegas. I probably lean a little Tulane myself on this game. I don't know that BetaRank's fully caught up to where Southern Miss is. But Tulane also, mileage may vary. I'm interested to, we'll see. I mean, this is going to be kind of a telling game. Both of these teams after this game will have 3 games worth of data in the model to weight against. It's good. I feel like we'll have a much better idea of where these teams sit out after this game, because both of these teams have had some very high volatility performances in their first 2 games. So this one should be fun to watch. I'm interested to see whether the Southern Miss that we saw against Louisiana Tech, which is a lot better team, shows up in this game. And do we get first half Tulane or second half Tulane here as well? So that's going to wrap it up let's wrap it up. So I'm excited. Football is back. It feels with the SEC coming back to play, getting to see our glimpse of what Alabama is going to be like this season. The number 1 projected team in BetaRank. It feels a lot more like football is back with all these conferences now playing. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to get to run BetaRank with a lot more games in the model after this weekend. Should be fun. I'll update BetaRank again tomorrow morning. I usually have that done by 9 a.m. and up on the site. Should be good to see. If you have any questions, hit me up at BetaRank FB. I'll be trying to watch most of the games today too, in between, the usual fall and having a toddler fest. But you can hit me up at BetaRank FB or at Sharp College Football with any questions, comments, nasty remarks, any of that. Jokes too. I mean, why not? Anyway, yeah, so let's hop into the creds. You find all the stats you just saw and a lot more at sharpcollegefootball.com. I'm Rob Bowron, the econometrician chicken behind BetaRank, and I'm at BetaRank FB. I also handle the tweets from at Sharp College Football. We have a Pac-12 podcast at 12 Pac Radio, and you can find all the back episodes of that podcast, which now we're going to be previewing the Pac-12 coming back to play in a little over a month at sharpcollegefootball.com/12 Pac Radio. We will see you again. For as we continue the Saturday 6, and also, trying to come up with, other, goings on, I think, in college football. So, we'll have videos out as news breaks, that kind of thing, trying to come up with something for the middle of the week as I also try to make sure that I manage my time effectively. So thank you so much for tuning in, and, I'm excited for the games, and we'll see you again soon.